Hello, everyone. My name is Juan Munoz, and I'm here to share my story with you guys. And yeah, I'm excited to share it. And this is Juan's story. My name's Juan, and this is it. How my past experiences with reading, writing, and language shaped the way I write and use language today is a story you'll find out about me. My name is Juan Munoz, and I'm a first generation Puerto Rican. English was spoken in my household, but not as often as Spanish. My entire learning experiences changed the moment my mother told the school that Spanish was the primary language at home. Even though I fully understood English and considered it my first language, I was placed into ESOL and ESL programs at the time. And I felt genuinely undereducated being in that type of classroom environment. I understood English well, but the pace was extremely slow. Looking back, I still don't know if that experience held me back mentally or if it was a blessing in disguise. What I do know is that even as I progressed through grade levels, I never truly felt ready for school. Because of those early experiences, my relationship with reading and writing felt distant. I was always tired and I lacked the ambition to push myself academically. I didn't feel confident using language, especially in writing, and I never asked for help. I graduated from Colonial High School with a 2.1 GPA, and at the time, that felt like all I was capable of. Recently, I had a conversation with my mom about my teenage years, and she told me her main concern was making sure I graduated. And hearing that made me realize that there wasn't much more capacity for her to help me, not just academically, but even with like life skills as well. And so my father, he wasn't in the picture as well, and that really affected my growth. It wasn't that I didn't want to learn stuff about life skills or academics. It was just more about a lack of awareness and guidance. For a long time, I felt limited by my experiences and couldn't see beyond my own bubble. Even now, I sometimes feel like my reading comprehension and writing skills are stuck at a high school level. Those feelings shape the way I approach language, cautiously, with little confidence, and often avoiding it altogether. After high school, I didn't feel ready for college, academically or financially. At 20 years old, I knew I needed to do something meaningful with my life and work towards something bigger than myself. That's when I decided to join the United States Navy, a decision that completely changed my perspective, completely changed my life. The Navy gave me structure, discipline, and access to education. Knowing that I could go to school for free all the way up to a master's degree completely shifted how I viewed learning. Education stopped feeling like a burden and started feeling like an opportunity. In 2022, I started reading nonfiction books, and this is the first time I ever started reading books in my adult life, by the way. And these books were focused on improving the mind, the body, and the spirit as well. At first, it was really hard to get consistent with it, but over time, it became my routine and I started becoming more consistent with it. Since then, I've read over 20 books in that 4 year span. That habit has changed the way I process information, think critically, and express myself through writing. I've learned that growth doesn't happen overnight. It's about putting in the effort to be 1% better every single day. Today, I value writing and reading in a way I never did before. Writing helps me slow down, reflect, and ask questions I never thought to ask myself. And one thing I want to add here is the quality of the questions that you ask is going to be the quality of your life. Putting my thoughts on paper has allowed me to understand my experiences more deeply. Being in college now feels meaningful because I'm not just earning credits or just earning a degree just because I'm learning about myself. I want to use my education to help my kids avoid the same struggles that I faced growing up. And I want to be able to get back to them and to the community by serving those who need it the most. Listening to stories of others in class has also shown me how powerful language can be. You become richer in experience when you take the time to hear someone else's story. Through my past experiences, I've learned that language isn't just about words, it's about growth, understanding, and the ability to rewrite your own story, which I will tell you guys something at the end of the story, and it will tie back into that. I just debated in my mind which framework I wanted to choose to describe my literacy journey. The framework I chose was Jane Paul Guy's Literacy, Discourse, and Linguistics. Literacy is more than just reading and writing. Guy is telling his readers that you need to participate in discourses. Discourses are ways of using language, thinking, and acting in a social context that is appropriate for the setting that you are in. Essentially, it is how you express yourself through clothes, it's how you express your values, your beliefs, the way you talk in a social setting as well. And so, I have a perfect example for you guys, and it's when I used to be a sneakerhead in high school, and I spent majority of my time in that social setting of like-minded individuals. We would trade sneakers and discuss what was heat. Heat in that context is a shoe that is harder to acquire and not common for the general population to buy. As I write this assignment, I now realize that once I sold all my sneakers and focused on wearing a different set of clothes, such as Sperry's and Hollister and Abercrombie, I no longer spent time with that same group of friends, but I started spending time with people who wore similar clothes as me. The conversations changed, the behaviors changed, and the way I thought changed. The sneakerheads never said or did anything wrong. I just changed my clothes and my identity changed. I wore cotton like polo sweater vest, and then I would have a dress shirt underneath as well. And instantly I felt more inclined to speak more eloquently. Another story I'll include is one night I went out to the movies with my friends, and one of the friends that I was hanging out with was associated with a gang. At the time I was 16, and the trend was to wear rosaries on your neck, even if you weren't religious, but it was worn as a fashion statement. To make a long story short, my friends ended up getting in a fight, and we ran away from the cops, but they eventually caught up to us, and we were told to stand by. Luckily, my mom was at the movies as well, watching another movie, and we told her about the incident. The police assumed I was in a gang because I wore a rosary, but in reality, I was just a teenager who was obsessed with making 10th prestige in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 during the summer break. That's all I was consumed in. That's all I cared about. So the idea that the cop thought that I was in a gang was just hilarious to me. Discourses cannot be taught directly and only through catching. For example, the mind vibrates at the highest frequency when you are a newborn to 7 years old. And every habit you pick up will be about 95% of the way you conduct your life for the rest of your life. You will need to consciously change a habit. And a book that I can recommend for you guys is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Furthermore, your environment will dictate what kind of discourse you will catch. I remember hearing my mom telling me often that I need to be careful of who I surround myself with. The power of proximity is a very real thing, and it will change your life. One saying I also heard growing up is you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you are spending time with 4 people who are overweight, more than likely you're going to be overweight. Education in the public school system is learned through lessons that the instructors teach. Acquisition is unconscious learning through engaging with your audience in the social setting you are in. For example, in my opinion, it's much easier to learn Spanish through engaging with your audience, whereas being taught verbally in a classroom setting, for me personally, is much harder. As time goes by, I keep reflecting through meditation and these prompts on these assignments that has shaped my life. There are events in which I'm changing the meaning behind and having these events or moments viewed as happening for me. The more I read and reflect, the more skin I peel off the potato to share my story with people who could draw inspiration from. Thank you to everyone that has viewed this video. God bless you guys. Much love and take care.